Support for This News is So Gay comes from the LGBTQ Opportunity Fund of the Cleveland Foundation, leveraging philanthropy to empower LGBTQ communities. Welcome to This News is So Gay. I'm your host, Ken Schneck, editor of the Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ newsroom. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's what we're covering on this week's episode. Rainbow flags. They can fly proudly, or apparently they can get banned from coffee shops or just plain burned to the ground. What is the latest rainbow flag drama out there? Mpox is again on the rise. What do we need to know on that public health issue? There are some people, places, and things you might not know, but soon will in our latest round of Who the Heck Is That? And of course, queer joy. Where is our roundtable finding queer joy in the news right now? Joining us this week to answer those questions and so many more. A new pairing for This News is So Gay, but very familiar voices to you all. Senior staff writer for the Buckeye Flame. Hey, I work there too. And a recipient of the Sarah Pettit Award for National LGBTQ Journalist of the Year, H.L. Comeriato. H, thanks for being on the show.
Ken, thanks for the ride over here.
Anytime. It really is part of my job description. And just a few months ago, she was the brand new service journalism editor for the Sacramento Bee, but has already and unsurprisingly been raised up as the Sacramento Bee's California politics editor and still the official sports ball correspondent for This News is So Gay, Lauren Chapman. Lauren, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And, one of those titles is infinitely more important than the other. And we all know that it's the sports ball.
100%. And we got two sports ball people on this show this week. So this is very exciting. California politics, I can't imagine that's the same as Indiana politics.
Shockingly, there's a lot of overlap when you consider the funkiness of supermajorities and everything else. So while the arguments are slightly different, all of the details are much the same.
I love it. Well, our LGBTQ Reporters Roundtable is now assembled, so let's dive in. We're going to start this week as we've been starting every week. We got to come up with a name for this segment. But effectively, the question is, hey, how are queer journalists doing? H, how are you doing?
I'm doing. The thing is that it's a job and it is work and someone has to do it. And even when it's difficult, it has to get done. So that's where we're at.
And you're getting it done. Lauren, how are you holding up?
I'm doing incredibly. It's baseball season. At any given point in time, I can fix my fingers to type in any address to hit a remote and see baseball at my heart's content. And for the first time in my entire life, I'm currently living in a city with a Major League Baseball team. Temporarily. So I'm having a great time. The world may be on fire. Everything may be collapsing around us, including American democracy, but who cares? I have baseball.
Temporarily living there, or the team is temporarily there?
The team is temporarily there. So, hi, welcome to Lauren's Sports Ball Corner. I'll be your host, Lauren Chapman. So the Oakland Athletics are no longer in Oakland, but they're also not yet in Las Vegas because they are still putting the finishing touches on their stadium. The Athletics will play a few games in Las Vegas this year. But so for right now, they are based in West Sacramento, which means I currently live in a city with a Major League Baseball team.
I can't wait to talk to you the week after they leave. But we have so much LGBTQ news to talk about. 'Tis the season for more and more rainbow flags. And yes, in some places, rainbow flags are apparently controversial, including in California. Lauren, one of my favorite places is sitting in my corner in my local coffee shop. Shout out to Gypsy Bean, where if someone is sitting in my chair when I get there, it's a disaster for both me and them. But there in your neck of the woods, a lot of drama with rainbow flags in coffee shops. What's going on?
Yes. So Phil's, spelled Philz, is a coffee chain that was founded in San Francisco's Mission District in 2003. The chain is predominantly in California, though it randomly has a few locations in Chicago. On April 8th, the chain announced that pride flags would no longer be displayed in order to create a welcome and safe environment for everyone. After the initial pushback, the chain doubled down on the decision, but as of a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks at this point, the pride flags are indeed staying. Phil CEO Mahesh Sadurangani said in a statement, "I made a mistake and am sincerely sorry to our team members, to our customers, and to the LGBTQIA plus community that has been with us since the very beginning. The confusion and hurt we caused around our new policy for pride flags failed you." So, long story short, the pride flags are staying, and Phil's coffee remains as gay as ever.
Was part of the apology part of the mistake spelling Phil's with a Z? Because that doesn't work for me.
Hey, what is spelling? What is English? And these are not questions I should ask as a newspaper editor.
That is not AP.
I was going to highlight that.
I don't know what it is, but it's not AP.
I don't know what it is either. H, you've written quite a few pieces about the destruction of rainbow flags here in Ohio. What have you learned? Because I know you've had incredible conversations with some national leaders on the connection between rainbow flag burnings and hate crimes. What have you learned there?
Yeah, so it's actually a little more complicated than you might think in terms of the big picture. What we saw last summer was a lot of vandalism incidents that were pointedly anti-LGBTQ, targeting either rainbow flags or rainbow crosswalks, little rainbow signs that you're going to stake into your grass in your yard. And those were being just vandalized, set on fire, destroyed in various ways. And we saw this in a couple different places in Northeast Ohio. And what was surprising initially is that this was taking place in a lot of communities that are known to either have a lot of LGBTQ people, like a gayborhood, or be a sort of blue dot in a very red state. So areas where people are known to typically support LGBTQ, pro-LGBTQ policies, you might see a lot of pride flags in these areas. So that was a little confusing to me, and I thought it might be confusing to other people. So I reached out to GLAAD and to Sarah Moore, who monitors their alert desk, which tracks these incidents all over the country. And what she sort of helped me untangle is that incidents like this, where you're getting your pride flag torn down off your house or you're getting a pride sign, set on fire in your yard, while we're seeing those incidents still and we're seeing them covered, they're actually going down and they're occurring mostly in blue areas, blue liberal areas, and people are sort of coming into these areas as a kind of like retaliation, like a tit for tat. They feel as though pro-LGBTQ legislation is being forced upon them and they don't like it. And so they go into these neighborhoods that are perceived to be gayborhoods and they do this. What's happening is those are actually slightly decreasing while more violent attacks are increasing. So we're seeing a little bit of a shift more toward actually like trans people physically getting attacked in the street, at a restaurant, out with friends, LGBTQ people being physically attacked if they kiss, if they show affection, etc. Those incidents are skyrocketing, but the incidents with pride flags are going down a little bit. And I thought that was a really interesting and sort of alarming big picture trend that you might not necessarily spot right away.
I have to say my favorite, it's a little weird to have a favorite pride flag burning story of the year, but my favorite pride flag burning story of the year for backroom purposes that I will reveal here. It was in Crestline, which is a village near Mansfield in central Ohio, definitely in the middle of nowhere. And it was a pride flag on a rural church. And the rural church was offering $5,000, a $5,000 reward for information on the pride flag arson. And H and I decided in the newsroom that that we thought that Ben Jodway, who was on last week's episode of This News Is So Gay, Ben could somehow activate some sort of network,
Some like underground community.
underground trans investigators, and it would be a new revenue source for the Buckeye Flame to somehow be able to solve these crimes. So yeah, that's going to be a new source of revenue for the Buckeye Flame. We will solve LGBTQ plus crimes.
It's giving Nancy Drew.
It's
That's
giving-
business, baby. You know?
It's specifically Nancy Drew and the Scarlet Hand.
Oh,
No, there was okay, but the Hardy Boys went to a baseball game once. I figured you would know that one, Lauren. I got
So
nothing.
I grew up playing the Nancy Drew computer games, and shout out to my D&D campaign that occasionally will just play through those games again on Discord for S's and G's.
wow, that's beautiful to me.
I love it. All right, well, let's pivot to some important healthcare stories out there. Lauren, apparently we're not done with Mpox. What's going on?
Yeah, we are certainly not done with Mpox. So, a potentially more dangerous strain of Mpox, which was formerly known as monkeypox, but we all recognize that was racist. A potentially more dangerous strain has been detected in Northern California. The strain is linked to more serious illness and a lot more deaths as well. Mpox is specifically overrepresented in gay and bisexual men, which is why it's extremely, extremely important to make sure you're vaccinated. Mpox spreads through direct contact with rashes, scabs, and bodily fluids of a person infected with the virus. The vaccine requires 2 doses. And some evidence suggests that even getting vaccinated after exposure can help your immune system fight off the worst effects of the virus. People usually get sick within 21 days of exposure, so it's a really, really long runway. So make sure that you're getting your shot, friends, because this is not something to mess around with.
Yeah. Trans healthcare in Ohio. It's kind of an unfair prompt to throw out at you because, yeah, an Ohio Supreme Court case we're in the middle of, waiting for that decision. Another new anti-trans bill since we did last week's episode of This News Is So Gay. People are like, oh, is that from a month ago? Nope, another new one from the past, 3 or 4 days. I have to ask, how exhausting is this?
Well, I would wish it upon anyone. It's and honestly, for parents of trans and gender nonconforming kids, I'm not even sure how they're toughing it out. We are not in a good place right now. We're in Ohio. We are sitting under a blanket ban on gender affirming healthcare for trans youth. So that means they can't even go to therapy and use a different name that's on their birth certificate, asked to be called different pronouns, anything like that. So we're looking at kids who might not be getting care for stuff like a common cold because they can't go in and just kind of have a basic conversation using the name that they use. So that's where we're at for youth. And for adults, it's not looking much better. The newest one you were talking about is House Bill 838, I believe. And that comes from your friend and mine, conservative Christian Rep. Josh Williams. And he's topped over 100 pieces of legislation in this session alone, which, to my understanding, no other legislator has ever done that in a single session, has topped 100 in a single session.
It's a record.
And at least 6 of them are pointedly anti-LGBT. A lot of the other ones affect LGBTQ people, in other ways. And 838 is the worst. We've sort of been waiting for this one. It would prevent the state and municipalities from providing health coverage for trans people. It would eliminate gender affirming care for trans people from those types of health insurance, and it would also completely eliminate gender affirming care under Medicaid. And this is only for trans people. So cisgender people, if they need certain types of gender affirming care, that's still going to be available. Like hormones will still be available for cisgender women who might need them for any number of reasons. This is specifically about covering gender affirming care for transgender people. And we've got, I think, 11 or 12 other states at this point that Medicaid does not cover that at all. And that is where we're headed. We have a really conservative legislature here, and we don't see any indication of this pattern changing anytime soon.
I say this, I think, every 2 years, but this time I really mean it. I am dreading lame duck session this November and December. It's going to be...
We don't know what's going to happen, and it could get really rough in terms of healthcare and in terms of limiting where transgender people can be and how they can be there in public spaces. So locker rooms, restrooms, anything like that.
To offer a little bit of additional context for what H was talking about, Indiana passed its gender affirming care ban for trans youth in 2023. And this has spread across the country in a very specific and targeted way. There is a single organization that is predominantly behind most of these bills called the Alliance Defending Freedom. And so one of the things that it's really important for anyone who is listening to this, who is trans, who cares about trans people, who believes that LGB without the T is not a full community, is to understand that this is part of the same political mechanisms and, in fact, the same organization that pushed for the fall of Roe v. Wade. And so this isn't just, a handful of conservative lawmakers that are, capitalizing on a culture war. It is a targeted campaign, and they are very upfront about that fact as well.
Yeah. I'm seeing that, I guess, I have some appreciation. I wish it had come much earlier. More and more posts saying, wait, this is exactly what they did with reproductive care. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the exact same playbook.
Has been for years.
They literally smoothed out the playbook by using anti-abortion pushes.
There it is. More to come, more to come. Well, there are some folks out there whose names you may not know, but you soon will. It's one of my favorite games. It's called Who the Heck Is That? Although this week is a bit of a tweak, we're calling it What the Heck Is That? Lauren, what the heck is the George Washington Carver School of Arts and Science, and why would it matter to the LGBTQ plus community?
Yeah, so the George Washington Carver School is a Waldorf school. It's an arts and science magnet that faced declining enrollment and a six-figure debt over the course of just a single year after the school district it's attached to paid off last year's debt. And that six-figure number amounts to about 15% of its operating budget. It is also a safe haven for LGBTQ students and students with disabilities, according to students who showed up to the school board meeting. The school system it's attached to, like I said, bailed out the school last year, but without an influx of around $300,000, the school is set to close. The school district itself, the one that it is attached to, is facing significant financial issues of its own. And so the school board voted 4-3 to close it. There is, however, some potential, maybe possibly hope. The city of Rancho Cordova, which is right next to Sacramento, has offered to buy the dependent charter school and merge it into a neighboring district. However, doing so is legally complicated, if not entirely impossible. And even if that does happen, the school would likely have to close for a time. And so, LGBTQ students, their parents, the community at large is really grieving the loss of this institution unless, some other Hail Mary comes in to drop a cool $300,000 on them.
I'm telling you, if we solve more crimes, we can definitely fund that school. By the way, Lauren Chapman, I was going to ask you, but I'm not going to, although you can respond in one sentence. I was going to ask you, what the heck is the Golden Bear?
Oh my God, I love the Golden Bear. It is it is an LGBTQ bar. Sacramento has a really gorgeous lavender district in Midtown Sacramento. And the Golden Bear is this just hole-in-the-wall kind of dive bar-esque place that has a truly stunning breakfast pizza. I do regret getting the breakfast pizza when I was going out to eat to save the stomach of my former food and drink reporter. I do wish I'd gotten one of the other options, but that breakfast pizza still hit.
If you've not read Be Appetit, The Golden Bear Serves Up Brunch and Community by Lauren Chapman, I wanted to go there immediately. So thank you for that, Lauren.
Also, hat tip to myself because I named that Be Appetit.
Is that not going to be an ongoing series?
Oh, it is. It is. We needed a new name for it. And I had to go before an upper level manager of the McClatchyverse to beg to name it Bee Appetit because they had put a moratorium on bee puns for the Sacramento Bee. And I would like it noted, I won. So yeah, Dad, that 6 years of speech and debate paid off for me.
There it is. Be appetit. The podcast is coming soon. That's round one. Now we're ready for round two. H, what the heck is Queers on Gears? And I know that that's more broad than what we're going to talk about, but it's the entry point. Queers on Gears, go.
Queers on Gears. Okay, so it's gay people on motorcycles. Exactly. You can't see it, but we're doing clock it.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
it's okay. So, and how we came upon this story, right, is my colleague Ben Jodway, who's also like, we think is going to like solve crimes for us. He always has something. He's like pulling something out of nowhere. And he one day came to the newsroom and he found these sources randomly, these trans people who had met via a group called Queers on Gears because they were trying to find other queer people to ride with. And it sort of turned into a more official thing when these two decided to start a firearms like safety training and range day specifically for LGBTQ people because they have the space and they have the knowledge and they're trans themselves. So Ben comes back to the newsroom with this about Queers on Gears and how they're doing this thing. Of course, Ben and I end up showing up. I take photos of these people. We do an entire story. And now they are calling themselves something different because it's just sort of exploded in a way that they kind of didn't expect. The level of interest among LGBTQ people and particularly among trans people in Ohio for this kind of training is like through the roof, and they're having trouble vetting the amount of applications they're getting to participate in this because they want to make sure folks are, who they say they are, and, you're not getting anybody weird. So they are now calling themselves CATS, Community Alliance for Trading Skills. And from what I understand, they're also going to be doing some basic car maintenance stuff so that you know how to change a tire and maybe you can change your oil and you know how to do these little fixes that otherwise would cost you a ton of money or require you to like hang out at an AutoZone with a bunch of men that you don't know. So it's really cool. It's encouraging LGBTQ people to do things that they have typically been discouraged from doing. And a lot of us talked about this when we were actually there, reporting on this training, is that we're a little scared. LGBTQ people are a little scared of firearm culture, being around it, learning about it. It doesn't feel very welcoming for us typically. And this is not that. This is something very, very different. And it's very, very cool. People are very interested. I have to say, knowing that if I am at a park and a little kid finds a gun, that I'm able to take that and disarm it and contact who I need to, that is an incredible feeling. It makes me feel much more capable of like serving my community as an adult out in the world where terrible things sometimes happen, right? So it did make me a little more confident. And I think certainly made the other LGBTQ people there more confident.
Love to hear it.
We have something more in common than just our gorgeous locks. I did skeet shooting with a nationally ranked high school long rifle shooter. And she literally handed me her gun and she was like, do you want to like try and compete? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. Cause I've cousins that I've gone to shooting ranges with and had an absolute blast skeet shooting with this like 16-year-old nationally ranked sharpshooter.
That is the single best part about this job is that like sometimes your day seems like it's going to be normal and then it's a little bit bonkers.
And just so we can establish a clean sweep, I myself was indeed a skeet shooting champion.
Stop it.
Yeah, the Nintendo Olympics game that came out in about 88. That round, you have no idea how good I was at that particular round. So just want to highlight
the way you drop lore. One time he looked at me and said, yeah, I used to have pinball machines at my house when I was a kid. I said,
we did.
What?
We did. We love the pinball machines at the house, but we're going to move on from that because you all are listening to This News is So Gay. I'm your host, Ken Schneck, with a ton of pinball talents, but also I work at the Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ plus newsroom. Joining me this week, H.L. Comeriato, also from the Buckeye Flame, and Lauren Chapman from the Sacramento Bee. By the by, if you are not subscribed to This News is So Gay or you haven't rate and reviewed us us, what the heck are you waiting for? Subscribe to This News is So Gay right this very second on your favorite podcasting app so that new episodes automatically make their way to you. Well, it is time, folks. It is time for Glitter Bomb. This is where our roundtable shares stories of queer joy that they are seeing covered out there in the news. So let's set off a glitter bomb. H, let's start with you. Give me a story of queer joy that you are seeing out there that we should all know about.
Listen, the 2026 LGBTQ Ohio Pride Guide has arrived, and Pride season is the best season there is. And that's it. That's it. Everything is it's a little bit stressful right now, guys. But you know what? Pride's coming up. Pride's coming up. You can pick out your outfit. You can go with your friends. You can get a little snacky. It's gonna be okay, and we're gonna have fun.
At last count, which I'm sure will change by the time this airs in a couple days, 133 Pride events currently in the Ohio LGBTQ plus Pride Guide.
That's
and
incredible.
I'm sure there will be more. Lauren, give us a story of queer joy, please.
I had something prepared. I was so ready. I came prepared. I was going to share. And then I had too much of a think on my 15-minute drive to the newsroom this morning. And I decided that my glitter bomb is simply a little more personal than that.
Oh, please. Yeah.
I, of course, work at the Sacramento Bee, and I'm one of the editors. And so what has happened over the last several weeks since the beginning of baseball season is that during those editor meetings, there is a small group of older editors that were here when I was an intern in 2014
Love
that
it.
now stop the baseball conversation to look at me to ask my opinion. And most importantly of all, I'm right. And that's what matters the most. Like, yes, make a welcoming environment for your lesbian editor,
Yes.
sure. But the fact that I'm right is the better part, because I made the bold prediction that the Athletics were going to make a real run for the postseason this year. And baseballreference.com, those who know, has predicted that they have a 70% chance of winning their division, which is insane. But as we've continued to move through the baseball season, now all these editors are looking at me like I'm Cassandra on top of the mountain spitting mad freaking prophecies because the Athletics are still doing well. So that's my queer joy, is baseballreference.com and being the most aggressive. I am my peak self right now. I am the evolved Pokemon of myself right now. And shout out to the delightful older male editors at the Sacramento Bee for giving me that space to be aggressively myself.
In my head, when you drop some knowledge and you just walk out, you drop the knowledge and then you say, "Be appetit, bitches," and then you're out of there. And I can picture it, and I think that is 100% what is happening. So just want to put that out there.
I just roll away on Heelys.
Pop the Heelys out.
I love
Yes.
it. And finally, Australian footballer Josh Cavallo said that he gets messages from other players wanting to come out publicly after he recently did the same. So for this week's quick queer culture question, let's hear it. Your favorite out LGBTQ plus athlete of all time and why? Lauren, who is it?
Okay, I mean, I have to be normal about this, so bear with me. My answer is Billy Beane. And no, not that Billy Beane, not the one from Moneyball. He has an extra E on the end of his name. But Billy Beane, the second openly gay MLB baseball player. Billy Beane had a fairly middling career. He was kind of the prototypical 4A guy, bouncing between the majors and minors. Not quite good enough to make a lasting career in the majors, but too good to languish too long in the minors. He played for the Padres, the Tigers, and the Dodgers from 1987 until 1995. And as with many gay stories, there's a little bit of tragedy involved where he was married to a woman. He got divorced from her in order to be with his first partner, Sam Madani. Madani, he shared these horror stories of trying to hide his relationship from his teammates, and where like Madani would hide in his car for hours when his teammates would come over unannounced to their home. And in 1995, Madani collapsed in their home from HIV-related cardiac arrest, and he later died. That same day, Beane, still afraid of outing his relationship, showed up for the 1 p.m. start for his game and wasn't able to attend the funeral of Madani. But Bean retired in 1995 from baseball. He slowly came out to his parents, to his family, to his friends, and came out publicly in 1999 to a reporter from the Miami Herald. In 2014, he was appointed as Major League Baseball's first ever inclusion officer. He advocated for baseball's first openly queer active player, a minor league baseball player, to be recognized by the Hall of Fame of Cooperstown. And Bean wasn't the first ball player to come out after he retired. That honor goes to Glenn Burke. But Bean spent a decade making sure that other young gay baseball players were welcomed into the game in a way that he never was. And he also championed LGBTQ acceptance in baseball. And he's my favorite queer athlete because his advocacy affected me. By 2023, most major and minor league ballparks had hosted LGBTQ Pride Nights. One of the glaring exceptions was Indianapolis's minor league team, which did not have their first Pride Night until September of 2023. But in June, I got to go to my first ever Pride Night at a Houston Astros game. And that's all because of Billy Bean. I got to experience baseball in a way that loved me back. Bean died in August of 2024 from leukemia, but he carved a path for LGBTQ ball players and fans to be welcomed into the game.
Thank you for that, Lauren Chapman.
That was awesome.
And if you want some more multiverse crossover, you can go to this show is so gay.com. I interviewed Billy Bean on May 11th. So truly May 11th, 2017. So 9 years ago next week. And we had an incredible conversation about just his impact on the world. So it's so incredible to hear that from one of the people that he had an impact on. Gosh, H, good luck following that up. H, just say, yeah, Billy Bean, me too.
No, listen,
but give me yours.
It's an interesting sort of juxtaposition because I was going to say Megan Rapinoe. Okay, first of all, prayers up. Most insane sports breakup of the decade. She's suffering right now. We know it. So prayers up to you, Megan Rapinoe, and Sue Bird. Prayers up. But Megan Rapinoe, she came out in, I want to say 2012. So that was pre the London Olympics. I was just graduating from high school. I came out in 2013, 2014. And seeing that team was sort of incredible. And a lot of them weren't even out yet. I mean, Ashlyn Harris and Allie Krieger, who went on to get married and have a baby and get divorced, like straight people do. We were all like, oh my God, they're in love with each other. And they weren't even out. It was just a completely, it is shocking to me now to think of how different a time it was then. And it has not been that long. And I just think Megan Rapinoe's a good representative of our community. You know, she just shows up publicly in a way that's cool and respectful and supportive of trans people, and she rocks.
Just want to remind our listeners that the correct answer was, of course, Billie Jean King. All
oh my
right,
gosh, I almost did it. Love her.
Well, we certainly want to hear what you all are working on. Lauren, what's coming up with Be Appetit and everything else at the Sacramento Bee?
Well, Be Appetit's no longer my big baby, but California's primary election is at the beginning of June because it's very late in the season. But it is as good a time as any to remind folks that if you are not registered to vote, make sure you are registered to vote and show up to vote, especially in your state's primary, because that is the point, that people don't show up to vote, which means your vote has an even bigger impact. And if your primary is already passed, make sure you're registered to vote for your general elections. Midterm elections are incredibly important. All elections are important. Make sure you research your down ballot races as well, because the smaller the government, the more of an effect it has on your life. So that's show up to vote, mother truckers.
There it is. So says the Sacramento Bee's California politics editor. H, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up is two very different things. Anti-LGBTQ legislation, which we are still going to cover, keeping an eye out for. We'll see how it goes. And pride. You're going to get some nice little pride stories about some folks who are putting together first prides for small towns, some folks who are going to their pride for the very first time ever. You're going to get some really cool pride content from our newsroom. So that's on the way.
Well, we are here for it. What a dynamic duo. I have not put these two together. It might happen more in the future. You all will find out by continuing to tune in. But first, let's, do some thanks. H, what a treat. Always, always.
Wow, what a treat to talk to you every single day.
And Lauren Chapman, no one has appeared on more episodes of This News is So Gay than Lauren Chapman, and let's keep it that way.
I demand it, actually. It's part of my writer now.
Yes. Green M&Ms and tons of appearances. Thank you for all you're doing out there, Lauren.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I'm Ken Schneck, editor of the Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ plus newsroom. And if you liked this episode of This News is So Gay, and I don't know how you could have not liked this one, please share it with a friend. Subscribe so that you do not miss out on our next episode. Send an email on over to editor@thebuckeyeflame.com. That's me, to let us know your thoughts, and rate and review us on your favorite podcasting app. This News is So Gay is a product of the Buckeye Flame, a nonprofit newsroom. Become a recurring donor today for as little as $12.50 a month, which truly enables programming like this from a scrappy queer newsroom like ours. In the meantime, read LGBTQ plus news, share the stories from LGBTQ plus reporters, and support the work of LGBTQ plus newsrooms. Until next week, friends.